Chapter 1673. The job of a game tester was indeed suitable for Shui Yaoyao. It wasn't just the job itself, but also the emotional sustenance. Since she was in the team previously and there were many guys around her, it wasn't difficult to get along with her seniors. As for her identity, no one knew about it. This was probably the beginning of a new beginning. But there were still other things that happened. For example, she was the only girl in the school hunks project. And she was a freshman. There would always be gossip in the eyes of others. Just like in novels. The next day, Shui Yaoyao was about to go eat with her dorm mates when she was stopped by a third-year senior. "Which one of you is Shui Yaoyao?" There were 3 of them, each with a good aura. Li Tao tugged at Yaoyao. Shui Yaoyao smiled, looking up. "I am." "Let's have a chat?" One of them smiled, giving off an artistic vibe. Normally, ordinary people wouldn't reject it. In addition, the people next to him also recognized who this person was. Li Tao was familiar with her, that was why she tugged at Yaoyao's sleeves. According to the school website, this was the C University celebrity most compatible with the school hunk. Wen Wanqing, be it in appearance or family background. And the 2 of them had hosted the freshman party together. It was said that they had a good relationship in private. She was probably the only person who could talk to the school hunk. Hence, the school website said that they were a couple. When they first arrived, Li Tao would definitely believe such gossip when she saw it. But now, the school hunk was obviously chasing after her Yaoyao. Unless the school hunk was a scumbag, otherwise, this artistic lady in front of her was just wishful thinking. Wishful thinking was too easy to go to extremes. Li Tao was anxious for Yaoyao to leave with someone else and was about to speak. Shui Yaoyao smiled. "I'm sorry, senior, I have to go eat with my friends. If there really is something, can we talk about it directly?" Wen Wanqing had probably never met someone who rejected her so directly. Her gaze paused on Shui Yaoyao's face. The other person beside her laughed. There's something wrong with the freshmen this year. You still don't understand anything. Our art department is looking for you and this is your attitude?" Shui Yaoyao looked at that exquisite face. When she was in junior high, it wasn't like he hadn't encountered such a situation before. Because of Jiang Zhua, she had been talked to like this before. After experiencing such a thing, she would subconsciously feel inferior when she saw such a beautiful girl again. No matter when. Just when she thought this was the end of her life. A better-looking person appeared. When she wore the school uniform, she looked like a handsome young man. When she wore the black veil, she looked like a witch. She was extremely beautiful. The difference was, no matter what she looked like, she would stand against the light, bear everything, and not give in at all. Shui Yaoyao understood one thing. If you wanted others to look up to you, the most important thing was to look up to yourself. It had nothing to do with looks. It's that you can see through these people. No matter how beautiful her skin was. It was just skin. Chapter 1674. "You." That person narrowed her eyes. There was a commotion not far away. "It's the professor? Who's the person beside him?" "I don't know." "Oh my God, he's so handsome. Didn't the professor say that there would be a teaching assistant coming? Could it be this one?" Before they could finish their guesses, Wen Wanqing had already realized that she couldn't continue asking. "It's not as serious as you think, it's just that the art department thinks that you're not bad and wanted to talk to you about joining the club. Since you're not willing, we won't force you." After saying this, Wen Wanqing walked forward with her people. After all, this was a first-year building. It wasn't appropriate for third years like them to stand at the door. It would be fine if there weren't so many people watching. It wouldn't be good if they attracted the professor's attention. And everyone's attention wasn't completely focused here. Because the topic of the new teaching assistant is very handsome, had sparked a discussion among the freshmen. Shui Yaoyao was eating with Li Tao. As someone who was dedicated to researching the school's website, Li Tao was very interested in this new teaching assistant. "He's really amazing. It's been spreading like wildfire but there isn't a single photo on the school's website." Li Tao held her chopsticks in her mouth and looked at the tray in front of her. "Yaoyao, who do you think this new teaching assistant is?" He managed to keep it a secret so well. Shui Yaoyao ate a mouthful of rice and chuckled. "He's a teaching assistant after all. He's getting to know the professor first." No one would dare to take photos, right? That's true. Li Tao admitted but added, it's not that they don't dare to take photos, it's just that there aren't any photos. But there's one thing, no matter how mysterious this person is, he can't beat the girls in our school's search for a handsome guy. Shui Yaoyao was helpless. What kind of adjectives are you using? It's true, don't doubt me. The school's website said that the new teaching assistant isn't simple, otherwise, it's impossible that they couldn't find anything. He must have some background. Li Tao said logically. More importantly, those who have seen this teaching assistant said that in the future, our school hunk won't be able to keep his position. Shui Yaoyao put down her chopsticks. Looks handsome. He's more than handsome. When he's wearing a teaching assistant's uniform and his eyes are raised into a smile, it's easy to guess which family's young master he's from. His flirtatious look is all over his face. Shui Yaoyao stood up and smiled. You're reciting a poem. I'm telling the truth. Li Tao also cleaned up the table. Oh right, are you going to school hunk's senior brother's place to continue working? Shui Yaoyao replied. Because it wasn't convenient to talk about some things, she told her roommates about her current job. The new teaching assistant will follow the professor there in a while. Li Tao hurriedly caught up with her. The school website said that he's very interested in your project and wants the professor to take him to take a look. Shui Yaoyao let out a long sigh. You even know what he talked about with the professor? You have to believe in the strength of our obsession with handsome men. Li Tao smiled cheekily. The professor brought him to the extremely expensive cafeteria in front for a meal. A female classmate happened to overhear it. As expected of the school hunk, senior brother's project is very famous. Shui Yaoyao declined to comment. Chapter 1675. Take pictures. Shui Yaoyao furrowed her brows. It's not convenient with the professor around. Li Tao thought for a moment and chuckled. That's true, but if it's possible, take one. I'm not forcing it, I just want to see a handsome guy. Shui Yaoyao knew her roommate's personality and smiled. I'll definitely take one if there's a chance. After all, I'm a fan of handsome guys. Right, right? The two girls' voices became softer and softer, disappearing in the wind, just like all the freshmen. Liking to look at handsome men was a very normal thing. On the other side, in the cafeteria, the professor also realized how charming his new student was. He chuckled lightly and said, After you came, the girls of C University have a new goal. Even when we're having a meal, they can gather in a circle. Your dad was still worried about you finding a girlfriend, but I don't think he has to worry at all. I didn't know Uncle Bai was here at first and was waiting for the school to send the documents. The person sat with his back to the light. Even though he was wearing an ordinary teaching assistant uniform, it couldn't hide his merchant aura. He exuded a noble aura. Fortunately, I came. Professor Bai smiled again. With your professionalism, you can handle it yourself. I'm curious. Don't you think it's a pity that you transferred to C University in such a hurry? Your major is the most popular in a university. I'm here to be a teaching assistant. There's nothing to pity. The person placed his chopsticks down. Professor Bai arched a brow. Do you think I'll believe you? All right, I'll explain. Regardless of the time or identity, the person still had the aura of a playboy. I'm here to chase someone. Professor Bai was slightly stunned. Chase someone? You're chasing someone? The person replied with a mh. When he laughed, the girls below really wanted to take pictures. Professor Bai's curiosity grew. Who exactly is it that made you chase after her across provinces? Our C University's freshman this year? Didn't you never chase anyone in the past? You even said it's fun to be chased. The person lowered his eyes. I wasn't sensible in the past. That's not simple, to be able to make you feel that you're insensible. I want to see who you're chasing. Professor Bai smiled and took a sip of tea. Your dad doesn't know, right? The man's eyes paused. I don't know. I didn't want to tell him. When Professor Bai saw this, he stopped asking questions. After all, he knew the relationship between the father and son. He was indeed very nervous. Well, we're almost done eating. I'll take you to see our project. Didn't you say that you're interested in the game development? Professor Bai stood up first. That person also followed. He was wearing a teaching assistant's uniform, and he forcibly made himself look like a noble. In the studio where he was working on a project, everyone was cleaning up. This was really the norm. After all, when they were making a game, hygiene and whatnot, for men like them, they would ignore it if they could. If he had the time, he might as well write another program. Of course, after Junior Yao Yao came, she was already much better. However, they could not withstand their bad luck. Now the professor is coming. In order to let the professor know, and also to let the legendary outstanding teaching assistant who could defeat their fourth teacher know, their project wasn't something that could be done by just anyone. Therefore, they couldn't slack off in terms of hygiene. Thus, there were people who cleaned up, and there were people who kept watch. Chapter 1676. Are you guys done packing? They're here. Cough, what's the rush? Calm down, calm down. Let Four and Sister Yao Yao welcome the guests first. Shui Yao Yao was also speechless at the word, welcome. They still had to collect the trash at the back. Indeed, they had to go out and exchange some pleasantries. Lin Yong put down the things in his hands and looked up at Shui Yao Yao. Let's go out. Shui Yao Yao put down the rag, wiped her hands and took the phone over. There was a basic version of the game on it. Outside the studio, Professor Bai was still showing off to the teaching assistant next to him. Look, our C University students know more about life than your university students. These small plants are all for them to live in. The teaching assistant glanced at it, a playboy smile hanging on his lips. Uncle Bai, the programmers don't even have time to clean up. It's impossible for them to have the time to plant flowers and plants. These should have been moved over from somewhere else. Don't they have the little bow that girls like? It looks like they were moved from the girls' dormitory. Professor Bai paused when he heard this. The teaching assistant smiled. I shouldn't have exposed it. Professor Bai was about to speak. A voice came from the other side. Professor. It was his favorite student. Professor Bai looked up. What are you guys doing? We're here to pick you and the teaching assistant up. Lin Yong smiled too, his gaze landing on the slender figure. These plants were indeed moved from the girls' dormitory. There's one more girl in our team now. Professor Bai was amused. I knew it, you know how to live well. However, the handsome teaching assistant beside him didn't say much. He just fixed his gaze on one person. All the light seemed to scatter in his eyes, like the flowing gold of time. Compared to before, there were many more emotions, but his voice was indifferent. I know, I'm here for the girl in your team. Shui Yao Yao stood there, looking at the new teaching assistant who was being talked about like wildfire. Her mind was blank. There was almost no image. How could it be him? This was Shui Yao Yao's only thought at the moment. But now she was different from before. Hence, she didn't show anything. Relatively speaking. Lin Yang's hand paused. He looked at the person beside him, then at the figure standing in the light. The smile on his face gradually faded. It was because of the ambiguous relationship between the two of them. Even if they weren't standing together. But he still felt as if there was a line that couldn't be cut. Professor Bai was already helpless. Even if this kid was chasing after someone, could he not be so straightforward? Cough. As a teacher, Professor Bai coughed lightly. All right, Jiang Zhua, don't bring your tricks to C University. Come over. I'll introduce you to someone. Jiang Zhua smiled and walked out of the light. At this moment, Shui Yao Yao could see him more clearly. From his eyes to his face, everything was crystal clear. There's no need for introductions. Jiang Zhua glanced up. I did a background check before coming. The Lin family's young master has excellent results in school and is the student you are most proud of. Professor Bai really wanted to teach this brat a lesson. Jiang Zhua had already stretched his hand out. Jiang Zhua, I'll be your teaching assistant in the future and also the person following up on your project. The etiquette of the Jiang family was very good. If there was a comparison between the two, Jiang Zhua was a more three-dimensional person, probably because of the strong contradictory aura around him. Chapter 1677. He lifted his eyes and looked at Shui Yao Yao, then he smiled. The summer was bright but it couldn't be compared to his eyes. You seem to have become prettier again. Did you lose weight? Professor Bai didn't want to say anything else. They were all here. Didn't he know how to restrain himself? A certain someone didn't know how to restrain herself. He could only smile. Why are you trying to get close to her? But it was rare for a girl to be as gentle as ever when she saw this playboy. Professor Bai couldn't help but glance in Shui Yaoyao's direction. Jiang's smile was mixed with many other things. You haven't seen her, so you don't know. She is my sister. How can this be considered getting close to her? Sister? Not only Professor Bai, but even the few people eavesdropping at the door were shocked. That amazing newcomer, that handsome teaching assistant who was even better than Old Four, was Sister Yao Yao's brother? What kind of twist of fate was this? To have such an elder brother-in-law. Old Four, your road to love is definitely not easy. Needless to say, these people were thinking too much. But it had to be admitted that when Lin Yong heard this, he heaved a sigh of relief. Only Shui Yaoyao didn't expect him to say this. After all, he had never admitted that she was his sister. He also never admitted that her mother married into the Jiang family. In this current situation, it had never happened. So much so that Shui Yaoyao didn't know what to say. The excuse that she had thought of before was that they were just ordinary friends, but it was no longer useful now. Professor Bai had a sudden realization. So you are. He paused here. After all, what he said next would touch on other people's family affairs. He smiled and continued, You're really promising. The people who came into this project are all elites. Come, tell me, which area are you in charge of? Shui Yaoyao was very grateful to Professor Bai for leading the topic on the right track. I am the project tester, mainly testing some of the game's operations, experience and interest. From there, I will find small bugs in the operations and increase the difficulty. Professor Bai listened with great interest. He was usually more technical and wasn't good at application. And most professors were academic. Now that he saw these models and the initial background as well as the game's website beta, he found it interesting. The gentlemen agreed that their labors were fruitful. Even when Professor Bai was inspecting it, one of them kicked the garbage bag inside. But that was not the point. Most importantly, Professor Bai had left. The teaching assistant who caused a sensation did not leave. He smirked, took off his jacket, and looked over at them. For some reason they were clearly of the same age. This person seemed to have an invisible aura. Do you have time? I don't think we need to clean up again. Ha ha ha. The people who were exposed laughed. Yes, assistant professor. Do you have any advice? Jiang Zhua was a businessman and knew how to read people's minds. How can it be advice? As Yao Yao's brother, I would like to treat you to a meal. I came a few days late and I have to thank you for taking care of her for me. Treat me to a meal. Yao Yao's brother was also a teaching assistant. He would definitely go. Ha ha ha, why are you being so polite? He had to be humble. Chapter 1678. He was starving? Didn't he just finish his meal in the cafeteria? Shui Yaoyao lowered her gaze, not saying a word. She had a rough idea of what was going on. But what she didn't understand was why he would suddenly do all this for her. When the others heard that Jiang Zhua was Yao Yao's brother, they were different from before and were extremely passionate. In that case, we'll accept your invitation and accept your meal. Jiang Zhua smiled. Think about what to eat. There's no need to think, it's our usual rule, skewers. We only got to know Junior Yao Yao when we ate skewers. Shui Yaoyao, who was called out, couldn't reject him. Mate. Jiang Zhua hooked his jacket and smiled at Shui Yaoyao. Yao Yao, call your roommates over so I can get to know them. Shui Yaoyao was about to speak. The senior beside her said, Yes, 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 call Li Tao and the others over. We have been too busy these few days. We can still play games if we sit together. Shui Yaoyao glanced over. Jiang Zhua smiled like a peach blossom. Indeed, there was no other way. After all, he was using her brother's identity. After the other three roommates received the call, they naturally agreed. After all, the two roommates had a good relationship. But most importantly, the senior said, Yao Yao's brother wants to treat us to a meal. All the more reason for them to go. But the siblings were in the same university. It was quite fated. Moreover, the younger sister came before the older brother, which was something they couldn't understand at first. When they entered the skewer's shop, they saw the school hunk and a handsome man who looked like they were going to tear a manga apart. They were truly amazed by her beauty. That person had a pair of long and narrow eyes that looked like peach blossoms. When he looked at them again, his lips curled into a smile. You guys are Yao Yao's roommates, right? I'm her brother and also the new teaching assistant. New teaching assistant? Li Tao felt like she couldn't breathe. If she were to take a photo and post it on the school intranet, there would be many people watching. Sure enough, the school's intranet didn't lie. Her beloved teaching assistant Prince Charming was really handsome. Li Tao tugged at Shui Yao Yao's sleeves and leaned over to whisper, Yao Yao, you're really amazing. I originally wanted you to secretly help me take a photo of my teaching idol. Now I've even seen him in person and he even wants to treat us to a meal. Most importantly, he's actually your brother. Shui Yao Yao calmed herself down. It's a long story. It's not what you think. You actually have such a brother. No wonder you always say you look average. Li Tao understood. Actually, you're very pretty. It's just that your brother is too handsome. I don't think you two are siblings. Shui Yao Yao replied with a and didn't explain further. The senior brothers on the other side had already taken out the skewers. Come, sit. Shui Yao Yao wanted to sit on the right like before. Unexpectedly, Li Tao was very sensible. You siblings should sit together. Shui Yao Yao glanced at Jiang Zhua, whose collar was slightly unbuttoned, revealing his collarbone. She deeply felt that her brother's excuse was useless. There were indeed many things that couldn't be said. Even though he was sitting in such a small shop, his Jiang family aura didn't diminish at all. But what changed was something that Shui Yao Yao couldn't explain. Yao Yao, hurry and sit. I'll go get the sauce. Chapter 1679. He shrugged. When the heat came, Shui Yao Yao looked up. Jiang Zhua happened to look over, his eyes deep and shallow. It was easy to remember how he looked when he wasn't in front of others. It wasn't easy to get rid of a person's imprint. Shui Yao Yao lowered her eyes, thinking about how to talk to him. He asked while eating, is the teaching assistant's surname Shui too? Shui Yao Yao paused. Someone finally noticed the problem. It can't be. Li Tao recalled the information she gathered. I heard his surname is Jiang. Jiang then Yao Yao. The seniors were confused. They didn't say they were cousins, right? Jiang Zhua smiled. I follow my father's surname. Yao Yao follows my mother's surname. He wasn't wrong. Yao Yao had started following her mother's surname when she was a few years old. But that wasn't the right explanation. Shui Yao Yao looked up. Li Tao laughed. Yao Yao, your family is really trendy. If I have children in the future, one will follow my father's surname and the other will follow my mother's surname. Shui Yao Yao looked at the people on the table, not saying that they were going to start a family. It wasn't that she was embarrassed, but the atmosphere wasn't suitable. Jiang Zhua sat beside her. After taking the skewers, he removed them one by one and placed the tender beef in her bowl. Everyone was eating. But after seeing his actions, the person on the other side paused again. Li Tao exclaimed. As expected, big brothers are good to others. My brother never puts food in my bowl. He always snatches my braised pork at home. Yao Yao, your brother treats you so well. This way, Shui Yao Yao couldn't put the beef back. Moreover, she really liked beef. In the past, when they ate together, Highness Jiu would snatch it for her. Miss them. Jiang Zhua lowered his face, his voice faint. If you do, go overseas. She had been here for so long. Her longing had always been suppressed deeply. But at this moment, someone seemed to understand her. Even the person's next sentence was the same as before. But I advise you not to appear in front of that person. You know how jealous some people can be. Shui Yao Yao replied, placing the beef in her mouth. It was delicious. Probably because there was someone talking to her about them. She had planned to have a good chat with him after dinner. However, the other party did not seem to be his usual self and did not give her a chance to talk to him alone. Instead, when she sent them back to the dormitory, she smiled at her roommates. Yao Yao, I will have to trouble you. Li Tao was now the most loyal teaching assistant fan. She decisively threw the school hunk aside. Sure enough, she still liked this kind of man who looked bad but was actually a siscon. Jiang Zhua knew that Yao Yao wanted to talk to him, But he didn't because he wanted to give himself a chance. He would stay by her side, including getting rid of all those who had designs on her. It was impossible for him to become kind in this life. No one would be able to accept the method of chasing after someone. But he would not force her like before. If she didn't like him showing up, he wouldn't show up. Whatever she liked, he would give her. In the following days, that was exactly what Jiangsu did. So when Shui Yaoyao pushed open the door to the dormitory, she felt a chill run down her spine. Chapter 1680. Shui Yaoyao didn't speak, just looking at the fruits. She liked every single one of them. She thought he wouldn't remember the things she said. After all, when she had told him about it, she had been very, very fat. At that time, no one would have noticed what she had said, done or liked. Yao Yao. Li Tao glanced down. Shui Yaoyao came back to her senses and replied, "MH." Li Tao sighed. It's indeed stressful to have such an outstanding brother. Previously, those people asked me how to get close to you so that I could get the teaching assistant's contact details. Shui Yaoyao smiled. There were people who asked me for it in the past. But they wouldn't have been so nice. Li Tao continued. But the teaching assistant seems to be afraid of causing trouble for you. I saw him tell a girl not to disturb you and she almost cried. Shui Yaoyao glanced down, wanting to avoid this topic. But she saw the figure standing under the tree in her dormitory. He was slender and lazy. His playboy aura couldn't be changed. But this time, he was standing there alone. He lifted his lids, seemingly looking in the direction of her dormitory. The falling leaves fell on his black hair, but he lifted his hand to remove them. He didn't leave. Instead, he stood against the tree. Shui Yaoyao lowered her lids, reaching out to pull the curtains. She wasn't sure if it had rained that day. It also showed him her attitude. Jiangsu didn't appear the next day. But the fruits arrived and there were 4 more desserts. Her roommates ate happily. He has a sister complex. He definitely has a sister complex. If Yaoyao falls in love in the future, do you think the teaching assistant will beat that guy up? With such an outstanding brother like the teaching assistant, those who want to chase Yaoyao will have to consider if they are qualified. Li Tao smiled, touching Yaoyao's shoulder. Look, there is someone who has considered and feels that he is suitable. Yaoyao, our school hunk senior invited you in the game again. Work test. Shui Yaoyao went online after saying this. She had been looking for the small bug, as well as the pin jamming. This went on for more than an hour. After Li Tao and the others washed the clothes, they even bought the food. When they walked in, they tugged at her sleeves. Yaoyao, do you know? Does he have a fever? Shui Yaoyao's hand froze. Fever? Yes, I heard it's very serious. I don't know where he got caught in the rain yesterday. Li Tao's voice was low. He seems to be in the infirmary now. The classmates are all saying, Yaoyao, did your brother not tell you about the fever because he was afraid that you would worry? Shui Yaoyao's eyes darkened. Li Tao's voice was getting further and further away. No wonder the teaching assistant didn't appear today. Shui Yaoyao stood up and put aside her work for a while. I'm going to the infirmary to see him. Yes, yes. Go, go. After all, he was her biological brother. It would be strange if he did not go. Shui Yaoyao didn't explain their relationship. On the other hand, the school hunk on the other end of the line had asked her out for a meal. Shui Yaoyao replied, the teaching assistant is sick. I'm going to see him. Teaching assistant? This form of address made Lin Yang's fingers pause. He smiled. I don't think I've ever heard you call teaching assistant brother. Chapter 1681. Shui Yaoyao's words caused Lin Yang's gaze to freeze. The intuition that surged in his heart when he first saw that person came back. That person liked Yaoyao just like him. No matter how one tried to hide it, one's gaze couldn't be controlled. From the moment that person appeared, he only had eyes for Yaoyao. Originally, when he heard that he was her brother, he heaved a sigh of relief. From the looks of it now, that wasn't the case. Did Yaoyao know? Her brother, who wasn't related by blood, liked her. For some reason, Lin Yang felt that she knew. Otherwise, with her personality, why would she be so distant from her brother? Lin Yang had always felt that it was better to get closer slowly. But now, he didn't think so. Lin Yong lowered his gaze, his handsome face, his aura retro. Yao Yao, let's meet. Shui Yao Yao furrowed her brows. Now. Lin Yong. Now. Shui Yao Yao thought for a moment and said, Senior, do you need me for work? Lin Yong chuckled. No, I want to treat you to a meal. Shui Yao Yao replied with a voice message. I'm sorry, Senior. I have something to do. If it's not work, I won't be going. Lin Yong didn't give up on the idea. Then let's meet after class tomorrow. I'll wait for you in the library. Okay. Shui Yao Yao had other things on her mind and didn't think much about it. She agreed casually. After all, they would often meet in private for data feedback. She was thinking about how to get into the teaching assistant's dormitory as a student. Shui Yao Yao had already been to the infirmary and received a definite answer. The school doctor also said that it was related to the rain. The fever is too serious and she needs to rest more. After Shui Yao Yao thanked him, she went to the staff dormitory. It was on the second floor of the old campus. C University was such a big university. There wouldn't be only a few teaching assistants. Shui Yao Yao was carrying some medicine and fruits she bought. If it really didn't work, she would probably ask someone else to send it up as a family member. It was all thanks to her identity as a family member. Isn't this teaching assistant Zhang's sister? Are you here to see your brother? Someone walked down from upstairs and smiled when he saw Shui Yao Yao. Shui Yao Yao hummed and asked, Do you know which room my brother is in? The first one on the left. I live with him. That person smiled faintly. I was just about to go get some medicine for him. Since you're here, I don't have to waste my time. I still have a courseware to write in a while, so I'll go straight to the library. Yao Yao stepped aside. Sorry to trouble you. We're all interning together. It's not troublesome at all. However, your brother is an exception. After saying that, the man waved his hand and left. Shui Yao Yao carried the things upstairs. Because it was in the old campus, the walls were mottled, and the stairs were of the same design as before. There was a slight noise when one stepped on it. There were 4 rooms in the hallway. Shui Yao Yao found the one on the far left and knocked on the door. No one answered. Shui Yao Yao furrowed her brows. According to the teaching assistant, there should be someone inside. Was it very serious? At this thought, Shui Yao Yao knocked on the door a few more times. Only then did he hear footsteps. Chapter 1682. Zhang Zhua, who thought it was his roommate who had returned, fell silent when he saw Shui Yao Yao standing outside the door. Shui Yao Yao looked at him. She didn't even need to take his temperature to know that his fever hadn't subsided. She didn't bother to argue and directly pulled him to the bedside. Lie down and take your temperature. If it's too high, go back to the infirmary. If it's not, drink your medicine. I'll get you some water. Zhang Zhua felt dizzy from her pull. When she let go, he lowered his eyes and looked at his wrist. It had been too long. It really had been too long. She took the initiative to touch him. She didn't want to avoid him every time she saw him. The interval between these events was too long. Zhang Zhua glanced over at the busy figure. His thin lips were pale and he didn't have the strength to speak. If she hadn't kept knocking, Zhang Zhua probably wouldn't have stood up. Now that he thought about it, he was lucky that he had stood up and opened the door. When Shui Yao Yao walked back, besides medicine and hot water, she also wet a towel and placed it on his forehead. Zhang Zhua finally understood why Qin Mo liked to use the trick of injuring himself. But until now, he didn't want to use any tricks on her. If she felt that it was hurting him, in that case, he would just stay there quietly. As long as no one came close, it would be fine. Probably no one understood why he was panicking. He was afraid that she would suddenly have a new life in university, a life that didn't include him. And he knew what the school hunk had in mind for her. If he was just a kid, it wouldn't have mattered. But he could actually convince her to play games again. Zhang Zhua was afraid. He didn't even have time to arrange things at home. He would rather give up the teaching assistant title and come over. Even if he had to face the possibility that he might really lose her every day. It seemed better than letting his imagination run wild. But he still couldn't take it. She ate with that person, did game tests with him, and talked about things he might not understand. Now, he regretted not asking Qin Mo to teach him how to play games. But there was no medicine for regret in this world. He was a businessman. There was a fundamental difference between him and people like them who had dreams in their hearts. But Jiang Zhuo had been thinking about it all this time. But he had never told her. His dream was to be with her. Want to get a person. He missed her so much. That's why he did it when he didn't know anything. I feel betrayed. When they wanted to retain him, they would use the most instinctive business methods. He wanted to ask her if she could start over. She didn't have to become so thin. Actually, whether she was pretty or not, in his eyes, it was all about her. Jiang Zhuo was really muddle-headed from the fever. Shui Yaoyao sat beside him. When she saw the temperature on the thermometer, she wanted to pull him up, but she couldn't. She could only make him drink the medicine and then use the physical cooling method. Fortunately, she had asked for alcohol from the infirmary. There was a refrigerator in the teaching assistant's dorm, and there was ice underneath. She wrapped a big bag and placed it on Jiang Zhuo's forehead, moving it back and forth to lower the temperature. He probably sensed that someone was approaching him. Jiang Zhuo opened his eyes. His peach blossom eyes beautiful. He held her hand. Is it Fat Yao Yao? That's what he called her then. Shui Yaoyao replied. MH. Chapter 1683. Jiang Zhuo was confused from the fever. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such words. He wouldn't have let go of Shui Yaoyao's hand. But he really didn't think it was Shui Yaoyao. So after he said that, he closed his eyes, his pale handsome face unnaturally red. One look and she knew it was caused by his high body temperature. It was probably because he was too uncomfortable. His brows were furrowed and his breath was hot. Shui Yaoyao sat at the side, her heart suddenly throbbing. From the moment she entered, she realized what kind of environment it was. If it was him in the past, he definitely wouldn't live in such a house. It was very simple and there were even cobwebs outside because it was the old campus. The room was clean but it was a world of difference from the place he had lived in for a long time. It wasn't that Shui Yaoyao didn't think about who he was here for. But it was too late. Shui Yaoyao wanted to tell him that. But the words Fat Yaoyao made her pause. She didn't know why but her heart felt warm. People didn't understand. So many people started to like her. It was because she had become like this. She learned to be confident, to dress herself up and she was even 10 kilograms lighter than before. When she encountered problems, she could solve them and wasn't a yes man anymore. She made herself better and better. If she worked hard enough, she would probably be respected accordingly. But other than Highness Zhou, only this person. Whether it was hate or like, it was all given to her in the past. She felt so inferior that she couldn't show her face. She couldn't handle anything. She was fat and ugly and even a little useless. He would smile and say, "You're not useless, I feel at ease but you are really heavy, Fat Yaoyao." She liked this person. He was probably the one who gave her the initial courage. That was why she felt like she was collapsing when she was injured. But who said that he had to like her at that time? Shui Yaoyao's eyes landed on him. This person had given her too many feelings. It was so complicated that it reminded her of her youth. He had seen her at her worst. He had also shattered her teenage dreams. But after experiencing so much, Shui Yaoyao understood one thing. A teenage dream would always be a dream. And whether it was the unbearable you or the beautiful you, not everyone could accept it. So many people said they liked her. Shui Yaoyao saw the cruelest thing in the word like. Even when people found out about Almighty Qin's hand injury, those who said they liked him even wanted him to withdraw from the competition when he performed poorly. Liking someone was too easy. A single gaze, a single face, a single sentence could be imagined. When the illusion is shattered, there would be hostages who would suspect that Senior Lin was trying to cheat them into marriage. Just because he said that he was gay, some things couldn't be explained. The easiest thing to accept about liking someone was that it was the opposite of fantasy. No matter what, she couldn't deny it. Apart from the Supreme Alliance, he was the only one who didn't ask her how she wanted to develop. At that time he even said, "It's quite comfortable to pinch the flesh on your face." Fat Yaoyao? Shui Yaoyao placed her hand on Jiang Zhuo's forehead, her eyes reflecting the tree branches outside. Jiang Zhuo didn't know what had happened. His fever had reached 40 degrees Celsius, and he was feeling a little dizzy. If it wasn't for someone constantly cooling him down, he would have died. He was really going to fail this time. Chapter 1684. Jiang's was sat up, the white towel on his forehead hanging to one side. This caused his gaze to change. Amidst the deep and shallow emotions, someone brought a bowl of noodle soup over. Damn! You're finally awake. Hurry up and eat the noodles. I bought it from the restaurant. This time, it wasn't made with gutter oil. The person who spoke was his roommate, who was also a teaching assistant like him. It was also this voice that made Jiang's feel like he should wake up. He probably had a really bad fever. He actually felt like Yao Yao had come to visit him. He was probably dreaming. Jiang's didn't move. He continued to lie there, raising his hand to cover his forehead. I'm not hungry. You said you weren't hungry again. The person shook his head. Young Master Jiang, you have to eat something. You don't have much of an appetite after the fever. Look at you. I told you to eat but you didn't. In the end, it got worse if it wasn't for your sister. My sister? What do you mean my sister? Jiang's interrupted him before he could finish his sentence. The person was confused. Your sister, Junior Yao Yao. Jiang's suddenly sat up, his voice a little hoarse. Yao Yao, did she come? MH. The person nodded, blowing on the noodles as he ate. She just left and left you medicine. She said you were awake and asked me to call you for dinner, after dinner. F***CK. Wait. Young Master Jiang, where are you going? Jiang's didn't turn back, grabbing a jacket and heading out. The person was dumbfounded. Does this young master know that his fever has just subsided? At this moment, Jiang's didn't care anymore. Since she came. Did that mean that he still had a chance? That was the only thing Jiang's cared about. Downstairs in the female dormitory, there were many people with different personalities. That was because there was someone standing under the tree. He had a smile on his face as though he had just finished playing basketball. He didn't take off his wristband but held a bouquet of flowers in his hand. He was talking to Shui Yao Yao. It wasn't anyone else, it was the school hunk they wanted to see. Since you have no time, I could only come. The man smiled. I wanted to tell you slowly, but it seems like if I don't tell you now, I'm afraid I won't have the chance in the future. You should have felt it. Shui Yao Yao stood there, not saying a word. You said you have a boyfriend. I've been following the team for so long, but I've never heard any news of you having a boyfriend. After the assistant came, I was even more certain that you don't have a boyfriend. What I'm about to say next, I hope it won't cause you any psychological burden. If you feel like you can't get along with me after hearing it, then just pretend you never heard it. Yao Yao, I like you. When he said the last word, Yi Zichen was stunned. Almost everyone who was walking back and forth heard it. Not to mention that this was a female dormitory. How fast did the news spread? Some even covered their mouths. There were even people whistling. The school hunk confessed. This would have been impossible in the past. It was even more impossible for him to be waiting for someone downstairs. But now, this scene was really like a scene that only appeared in television dramas. The girl he confessed to was truly blessed. Someone cupped his face and started to jeer. Yes, yes, yes. Everything was so lively and beautiful. Chapter 1685. Was there no hope left? He bit his lower lip. His legs felt like they were filled with lead. They were heavy and heavy. On the two of them. He saw youth and the future. But thinking about it carefully, what was between them? The hurt, the past and the absurdity that he didn't even want to think about. Jiang's couldn't figure out where his problem was. He really wanted to ask her. Was it his fault that he didn't know how to like someone? Now it was proven. It was his fault that he didn't know how to like someone. Because he had never cherished or trusted anyone. However, there was only one person whom he was completely good to. Jiang's lowered his eyes. He was a businessman. They were around the same age. But his way of thinking was different. Compared to their beauty, he seemed to only be left with benefits. No matter what he did, he had to consider the gains and losses first. How did he grow up? Ever since his mother died, he guarded the Jiang family. Those women who wanted to marry his father. If he wasn't a person who considered the gains and losses, how could he deal with them? He wouldn't allow anyone to touch the Jiang family's things. It wasn't because he liked being the young master of the Jiang family. It was because these things originally belonged to his mother. So, in the future, he would be alone again. Jiangsu lowered his head and laughed. This time, he didn't do things his way. Except that he didn't want to force her. And there was another point. Maybe a long time ago, he was already alone. It was him who always lived in the past. He remembered when he was 10 years old. On Christmas, Qin Mo stood at their doorstep. The person who usually didn't touch anything would decorate the Christmas tree like a little artist. This was a foreign holiday and it had nothing to do with them. Besides, the Qin family valued the Chinese season more. It was just a small habit. Ever since he knew Qin Mo, he would come once a year. At that time he asked him, "Why do you always do these things?" Qin Mo said, "Someone likes it." He didn't need to look to know. Someone, but that person isn't here. Qin Mo looked up, his gaze unchanged. She isn't here now. As long as I wait here, she will come back one day. At that time, rather than saying that he admired Qin Mo, it was more like he was envious that he had such a person who could wait. Standing in the same spot, that person could see him the moment he turned his head. Many people said that it was not easy to stand still, because no one could keep themselves unchanged. Yes, Qin Mo hadn't changed after so many years. Even after what happened to him, some things didn't change. But does anyone know? Some people had left and that was it. She would never look back to see what she had left behind. Because everyone was becoming stronger and stronger. To create a new life. But there was only Qin Mo. She looked back. She even ran. He kept retreating. It was all for the sake of finding Qin Mo. After knowing that Z was the person that Qin Mo had been waiting for all these years, he couldn't help but sigh. Jiang Zhua was envious. He hadn't changed either. But he didn't know how to cherish it. Therefore, no one would turn back for him. Jiang Zhua turned around and walked in the opposite direction of the dormitory. He didn't hear Yao Yao's rejection. His voice seemed to have faded away in his ears. Chapter 1686. Jiang Zhua stopped in his tracks. As though he couldn't believe his ears. She lifted her eyes. Before Shui Yao Yao could say anything, she was pulled into his arms by the other party. This was the female dormitory. Moreover, School Hunk Kai had just confessed. The surrounding people hadn't left yet. They covered their mouths when they saw the scene. What's going on? Li Tao was confused. The only one who was conscious was Shui Yao Yao. She felt his body temperature. It was abnormally high. She pushed him. Jiang Zhua smiled, as though he didn't care. He knew he would be pushed away but he still wanted to hug her, probably because he needed some strength to walk out. But before he could move, Shui Yao Yao grabbed his wrist. What's wrong with you? Why did you come out before your fever subsided? Jiang Zhua's peach blossom eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of light. It was beautiful. Are you concerned about me now? You are my brother, even if we aren't related by blood. Shui Yao Yao glanced up. Jiang Zhua leaned against the tree, still looking handsome. I don't want to be your brother. Tell me, why did Auntie Shui marry me and stop me from chasing you? Shui Yao Yao paused. That joke isn't funny. How is it a joke? Jiang Zhua lowered his lids. I like you, don't you know that? Shui Yao Yao looked at him. You didn't think about chasing me then. I was so fat, didn't you? You told everyone that you weren't close to me. Because I knew Auntie Shui was going to be my stepmother. Jiang Zhua's lips were pale. I was a jerk but I wanted to chase you. It wasn't a joke. Who else did you think gave you the flowers? Shui Yao Yao froze. You gave me the sky full of stars? Jiang Zhua chuckled. Didn't you say no one celebrated your birthday? Shui Yao Yao clenched her fingers. Why didn't you say that before? Because I felt that you betrayed me. Jiang Zhua lowered his voice. You knew that I hated those who got close to my father but you didn't tell me that Auntie Shui had a boyfriend, that he was my father. Shui Yao Yao opened her mouth. That was true. At the end of the day, she was afraid that he would hate her, so she didn't tell him immediately. I only knew one day earlier than you. Shui Yao Yao was telling the truth. She was really weak at that time, but she had thought about telling him the next day. But that day, her brother started to have a stomachache, so she had to send him to the drip. When she saw Jiangzhua again, someone had dug out her diary and pasted it on the school newspaper. Everyone in the school knew that she had fallen in love with a high and mighty senior. People said that she was a toad trying to eat swan meat, and that she should not be a demon when she was so ugly and fat. She had only written those thoughts for him to read. She was well aware of the distance between them. I didn't have any real thoughts. At that time, Shui Yaoyao only wanted to make this person her goal. When it was announced, she really wanted to run away. And he didn't even look at her. She thought he hated being liked by someone as fat as her. Only then would it be that kind of performance. It was like the nightmare that kept appearing after she fell in love with him, and then it became real. So it wasn't? Was there something else? Chapter 1687. Jiangzhua replied. It wasn't until a long time later that I understood that you couldn't control Auntie Shui's marriage to the Jiang family because I couldn't either. It's all in the past. Shui Yaoyao glanced over, seemingly taking a deep breath. Let's go to the infirmary first. Jiangzhua lowered his lids, not moving. It's not in the past with me because I still like you. Shui Yaoyao's fingers paused. Jiangzhua looked at her and stretched his hand out, his voice a little low. We signed a contract previously and I want to renew it. This time, you can set the rules and I can do anything you want. If you think I was a jerk previously, you can vent your anger. But you have to be mine. Are you willing to renew this contract? Shui Yaoyao didn't speak. Jiangzhua stood there, feeling the weight of his hand hanging in the air. 1 second. 2 seconds. Almost 10 seconds passed. Jiangzhua roughly knew her attitude, but he wasn't willing to accept it. His heart felt like it was soaked in ice water. It felt empty and cold. Just as he was about to lose all hope. Too many scenes flashed through Shui Yaoyao's mind. In the end, it stopped at the scene where he called her Fat Yaoyao. Hence, Jiangzhua's hand was about to hang down when Shui Yaoyao suddenly raised it. She seemed a little impulsive. If you renew the contract if I get fat again, it's better if you get fat again, then no one will snatch you from me. Jiangzhua was faster to cut her off. Shui Yaoyao's eyes lit up. You know I have an inferiority complex and my thoughts run wild. You should also know that I look fickle and easily attract women. You have to be wary of them. Jiangzhua lowered his lids. Just be wary of them, don't be wary of me. Shui Yaoyao couldn't help but laugh. Because of your looks? At the very start, he had complained about this on the rooftop. It's because we have money now. It could be said that young Master Jiang was very straightforward. Shui Yaoyao glanced over. I can't guarantee I will be like before. Let's try again. You want to return the goods after a bad test. Jiangzhua felt a tinge of bitterness in his heart, but it was more of a new lease of life. I won't let you have that chance. Shui Yaoyao chuckled lightly. Maybe other girls will give me this chance. For example, when they get close to you, it's not impossible that you can't control yourself. At this moment, Jiangzhua pulled her into his arms, lowered his body slightly, and whispered in her ear. We've been together for so long and you've slept in my office before. Have you ever seen my secretary with a girl? When Shui Yaoyao heard this, the back of her neck turned red. No. Jiangzhua seemed to have hugged her gently, his tone carrying a sigh. It has always been only you. I have always only had you. Shui Yaoyao knew that she couldn't get rid of this person no matter what. Fortunately, things were different now. Now, when she heard these words, she would not lose her rationality. His heart could still beat, and there was a slight sweetness in it. So this was what it looked like when you like someone just right. Indeed, he couldn't let go of what happened in the past. She didn't even know how far they could go. He was trying to give himself a chance. If there was no other way, he could truly let go of the past. Chapter 1688. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they didn't quite understand. What exactly did the two of them say? In the end, someone said that the teaching assistant had a fever and as the sister, she must have been worried and couldn't care less about the school hunk's confession. As for the hug, it was easy to explain. After all, the teaching assistant had always cared about his sister. Only Yang, who was standing there, knew what was going on. Yao Yao had rejected him decisively because the reason was obvious. And he knew that even without Zhang Zhua, Yao Yao wouldn't have accepted him. He still felt indignant. But what could he do even if he was indignant? Feelings weren't something that could be forced. That was probably the difference between Yang and Zhang Zhua. From the start, Zhang Zhua had been forceful towards Shui Yao Yao. Perhaps it wasn't appropriate to use such forcefulness on others. But it was just right for Yao Yao. And because of Zhang Zhua's forcefulness, there was a continuation of the relationship. In a relationship, the person who was forceful was sometimes the person with the purest and deepest feelings. After Zhang Zhua's injection, Shui Yao Yao returned to the dormitory. When they first got together, they weren't as close as everyone thought. Even though Zhang Zhua couldn't bear to let her go, he had to send her away. The moment Shui Yao Yao entered the dormitory, Li Tao walked over in confusion. Yao Yao, why didn't you accept senior? Because we aren't compatible. Shui Yao Yao chuckled lightly as she walked forward. Li Tao scratched her head. I think you and senior are quite compatible. Besides, the department bell came to you because of senior. It's really unexpected that you rejected her like that. What's unexpected? The person lying on the upper bunk turned over. Yao Yao said she wasn't interested in the school hunk. Why, senior is so nice. Li Tao's gaze was low, her voice heavy. Shui Yao Yao glanced up at her. I have someone else in my heart. We had a misunderstanding in the past, but now, we are at the stage of reconciliation. Someone else? Who? Li Tao and her roommates exchanged glances, confused. They hadn't seen Yao Yao's messages. Why was there someone else? Shui Yao Yao brought the toiletries over. You will know in the future. I'm going to take a shower first before there's no hot water. There would be no hot water in the dormitory during the designated time. Shui Yao Yao wasn't lying. Someone was still waiting for Li Tao's message. What do you think? Was there any progress? Why did Junior Yao Yao reject our fourth brother? Li Tao replied. Yao Yao said she already has someone in her heart. Damn. No way. I always thought it was just an excuse Yao Yao used to block off the other girls. I didn't think there would really be such a person. Who else in C University could be more popular with girls than four? I really can't think of anyone. Li Tao replied again. Teaching assistant Zhang is more likable. Okay, I know you are Brother Zhang's fans. Brother Zhang definitely knows who it is. After all, they are siblings. After saying this, the man glanced at Lao Si, who was drinking, raised his hand, and dialed a string of numbers. Hello. Zhang Zhua had just finished dealing with the work that had been transferred over. His thin lips were still a little pale. Brother Zhang, if you and Junior Yao Yao are siblings, you should know everything about her, right? Chapter 1689. Yao Yao and I don't have the same surname, you know that, right? Zhang Zhua's voice was indescribably nonchalant. The person on the other end replied, Yes, we follow our father's and mother's surnames. We think it's quite fashionable. Fashionable? Zhang Zhua laughed softly. We aren't related by blood. That's why our surnames are different. The person on the other end paused. Not related by blood? Yes, Yao Yao and I are re-establishing a family. Zhang Zhua's peach blossom eyes lit up. We've known each other for 3 years. Auntie Shui married my dad for less than a year and Yao Yao has a biological brother who calls me brother. The person on the other end of the line couldn't hold on to his phone. That's the case. Zhang Zhua chuckled lightly. But I do know everything about her. Ask whatever you want to. That person thought that although the secret he knew was too big, he was still shocked. But he had to ask what he had to ask. Junior Yao Yao said she has someone else in her heart and rejected Seely because of this. Brother Zhang. Who is this person? Do you know? Zhang Zhua's eyes deepened and he didn't beat around the bush. I know it's me. The person on the other end. There was a moment of silence. His tongue was in a knot. It's you? He wanted to hang up. What should he do? Zhang Zhua's voice drifted over again. There was a misunderstanding between us because my dad wanted to marry her mother. I always felt that they got close to us for money and I don't want to be her sister. Before I came, everything had been resolved. Now that I've been legally removed from my father's name, It's legal for me to be with her and I don't have to worry so much. But she's a girl and it's different. I hope that she won't announce this news. If you can keep it to yourself, try not to. There are many people in the school and they don't know what is going on. When the time comes, they will only say that she shouldn't be with me since we are reorganizing our family. The person on the other end of the line didn't know what to do. The impact was too huge. Zhang's smile was low. If it's because of your Sealy, then there's no need. He's so smart, he should already know, so I hope you can keep this a secret. The person opened his mouth. What are you doing now? We have already reconciled. Zhang's voice was faint. Didn't I say from the start that I came here because of her? That person coughed lightly. Brother Zhang, I'm not a girl, so don't release your charm. When are you guys going to stop like this? Junior Yao Yao is so popular. Won't you feel insecure if you don't publicize it? Moreover, there are more people who like you. It's easy for misunderstandings to arise between the two of you. Break up. This question was a little harsh and realistic. Zhang's clenched his fists, his gaze faint. We'll talk about the rest when her life is stable. That person shook his head. Brother Zhang, I feel that you're quite pitiful now. You have a girlfriend, but you can't go public. You're even worse than us single dogs who don't have a girlfriend. Luckily, if you still have to show off your love to Junior Yao Yao when you're teaching us, then fourth brother really doesn't want to do research anymore. Brother Zhang, to be honest, are you worried that someone will confess to Junior Yao Yao every day? Zhang paused. That person didn't expect him to admit it so directly. Then he smiled faintly. I'm not just afraid of that. Chapter 1690. She's only a freshman. We can talk about this when people aren't so curious about her. Curious? Your school hunk confessed downstairs. Everyone would be curious about her. Why did he hear jealousy in that sentence? Zhang's voice was still calm. In the future, focus on your development. If fourth brother has any matters, get him to look for me or her in private. Ordinary girls might not have to worry about curiosity, but Yao Yao is different. Besides, people who don't know the truth will talk about her, so I hope that you can keep it a secret. That's not a problem. When that person heard this, he finally understood that Brother Zhang's feelings were indeed deeper than their fourth brother's. As for fourth brother, they should just drink together. In this state, it wasn't as if he didn't have the chance to snatch Junior Yao Yao over. Anyway, Brother Zhang wouldn't make it public. Just like that. It lasted for 2 weeks. The two of them tried to be together. He was really trying to do it. Zhang would send a bunch of things to the dormitory just like before. But Shui Yao Yao's state of mind had changed. She would look at the things and smile, then distribute them to her roommates. It seemed like everyone would pay attention to their dressing after being in a relationship. Shui Yao Yao was the same, just that it was appropriate. In addition, the classes were getting tighter, and there were projects to do. Hence, there were times when she would grab her hair and sink back into the game during the test. Zhang Zhua was the counselor, and when he saw her like this, he would place a bottle of water beside her. He didn't show anything, but it still made people feel that there was an inexplicable intimacy between the two of them. The only time they could be alone was probably the journey from the lab to the dormitory. It was less than 10 minutes, and it was Zhang Zhua who sent Shui Yao Yao. I want to have a brother too. Li Tao held the pastries for afternoon tea, feeling that being Yao Yao's roommate was a blessing. Although she still couldn't understand why Yao Yao didn't accept the school hunk. In the past, I really couldn't tell that Yao Yao was a rich second-generation heir, but looking at the way the teaching assistant acts, she is rich, really rich. Shui Yao Yao smiled. Do I look poor? It's not as high profile as the teaching assistant. Someone started posting pictures of the teaching assistant on the school website. He wanted to buy the same necklace, but when everyone searched for the price, it was 2,333. Li Tao shook her head. Oh right, Yao Yao, today is White Valentine's Day. How are you going to spend it? Why don't we invite the people from Senior Brother's dormitory out so that we can get together? Shui Yao Yao took a bite of the pastry. I have an appointment that day. You guys go. He has a date. The other people in the dormitory widened their eyes. Yao Yao chuckled. Yes. Didn't you reject Senior? Shui Yaoyao nodded and looked at them again. It has nothing to do with him. Wait, I have a call coming in. The person who called was the laboratory, saying that they wanted to add a test at the last minute. After Shui Yaoyao hung up, she didn't even have time to eat the cake. She grabbed her bag and rushed out of the dorm. Her roommates are dumbfounded. Who did Yaoyao make an appointment with today? Because it was a temporary test. There weren't many people there. Moreover, when Shui Yaoyao was testing the details of the game, she forgot everything. Chapter 1691. Outside C University. Jiang Zhou found a restaurant. He didn't book the entire place like before. But it was absolutely quiet. Such a place wasn't something most people could afford. But the more it was like this. When the people gradually left, the more deserted the place seemed. The restaurant was an all-glass house. Jiang Zhou could see the lanterns outside from the corner of his head. These were all arranged by Jiang Zhou, including the pumpkin carriage in the courtyard, plush dolls, and a large patch of roses. Although the two of them had been together before, they had never celebrated the festival that a couple should celebrate like this. Hence, Jiang Zhou hadn't prepared these things in a day or two. Even the waiters in the restaurant hadn't seen such effort and thought he was going to propose. It wasn't common to put in so much effort and patience just to celebrate White Valentine's Day. From this angle it was really beautiful. A few couples who came to eat thought that the restaurant had specially decorated it for Valentine's Day. Almost everyone took a photo. But when they took the photo, they felt that the light sometimes looked like a word. Yao. It was probably an illusion. After all, there was a carriage. There was light music in the restaurant. The waiter had come over a few times. Sir, I'll get you a glass of lemonade. Because he was a big customer, he wouldn't rush him to order. Moreover, the kitchen had already prepared the ingredients for the dishes he wanted to eat and was just waiting for him to say that it was ready. Time trickled by. Jiang Zhou listened to the artificial voice that said, "No one is picking up at the moment." He glanced sideways at the retro clock hanging in the middle of the restaurant. It was already 9 o'clock. And their appointment was at 7 o'clock. The waiter walked over again. "Sir, do you want me to prepare some bread for you first?" "Okay." Jiang Zhou's gaze landed. Sitting there alone, he didn't know why the more beautiful the environment, the more lonely he seemed. The second wave of customers were still puzzled. How could there be a handsome guy sitting in the best seat but there was no one in front of him? At 9:30, the waiter came over again with a troubled expression. "Sir, our chefs get off work at 10. Do you want me to bring you the dishes you ordered first?" Jiang Zhou looked at the emotionless phone screen. The waiter was also waiting there. "Would you like to contact your friend again?" "Serve the dishes first." Jiang Zhou sounded emotionless. "Yes, sir." When it was almost 10 o'clock, the last table of customers left. There was a huge pile of food on Jiang Zhou's table. The ingredients were all fresh and precious. But he didn't move. He originally wanted to make another call, but when he swiped through his moments, his fingers paused. Someone from the project team posted a photo. The second day of the dormitory get-together. So happy. These two are really a pair of ill-fated lovebirds. They're still taking the test, but I think they'll have a chance after the test. Jiang Zhou looked at the photo. For some reason, even his fingers felt cold. Not to mention the warmth coming from his chest. He did not wait any longer. After placing the napkin on the dining table, he stood up and walked out. The waiter looked at the table full of food and thought to himself that rich people were really wasteful. The other side. Shui Yaoyao didn't realize it was already 10 o'clock until she finished her work. Chapter 1692. Her first reaction was to get her phone. She hadn't expected the phone she didn't use for testing to run out of battery. Fortunately, there were many chargers here. After Shui Yaoyao charged the phone anxiously, she saw so many missed calls and messages on WeChat. She felt really guilty. Lin Yang had already packed up. He turned and said to Shui Yaoyao, "It's late, I'll take you out for dinner and then send you back." "No need. Senior." Shui Yaoyao pressed her phone anxiously. "I'll settle it myself." Lin Yang knew that she obviously had a date. Actually, he could tell how important that person was to her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have looked up at him no matter what he said. Shui Yaoyao really didn't have time to care about others. After the messages stopped, her first reaction was to call Jiang Zhua. His phone was turned off? Shui Yaoyao thought about it. It was too late to go to the restaurant now. At 10, it would definitely be closed. She went to the dormitory building to take a look. She wanted to leave but was afraid that her phone would be turned off again. When the battery reached 10%, Shui Yaoyao just came out and was about to run over. She saw a person standing under the streetlight, looking up at her. Shui Yaoyao panted and was about to explain. He pulled her into his arms, his voice a little low. I don't accept any excuses that don't fit after trying. Shui Yaoyao opened her mouth. Jiang Zhua buried his face into her neck. I saw your WeChat moments. What WeChat moments? Shui Yaoyao was confused. Jiang Zhua's voice didn't seem to rise. The photo of you doing the test together. Shui Yaoyao reacted. Yes, I just wanted to tell you that it was really because I found a lot of loopholes in the test. I kept wanting to remember the loopholes and the feeling of the experience. Gradually, I lost track of time. Yaoyao. Jiang Zhua seemed to smile. I know very well that you won't be like before, putting me first in everything. That's why you forgot. Shui Yaoyao didn't retort. She really wouldn't put all her thoughts into it now. Then do you feel tired? Shui Yaoyao thought for a moment. Recently, he had been the one doing all the work. Jiang Zhua lowered his voice. I will feel helpless, but compared to the current state, I'm more afraid of you and that person having something going on. That person. Shui Yaoyao reached out and paused for a moment before placing her hand on his back. Are you talking about Senior? It's impossible for me to be with him. I rejected him a long time ago. You know that. Jiang Zhua's gaze was deep. It's clear, but when I see that photo, I still wonder why I'm not the one playing. You know, I reek of money and can't be compared to them. You! Shui Yaoyao chuckled. Can you be so jealous? Jiang Zhua glanced up. Why can't I? Shui Yaoyao stopped Jiang Zhua with one sentence. You are mature. Jiang Zhua laughed again. Peach blossoms reflected in his eyes. I realize that you are getting better at dealing with me. Shui Yaoyao apologized seriously. I was wrong today. Jiang Zhua lowered his gaze. Shouldn't you compensate me? Shui Yaoyao arched a brow. Compensation? Chapter 1693. Shui Yaoyao paused, lowering her lids. She didn't think she would fail. She was the one who didn't. Without a doubt, Shui Yaoyao was blessed. Similarly, she wouldn't make the person she was with feel uneasy. Since they had decided to be together again, she had to show her confidence. Especially when they were having supper, she saw Jiang Zhua's post and knew that he had prepared so much. This thought intensified. Shui Yaoyao had always been a gentle person. Perhaps in the eyes of others, she didn't have a personality. But in Jiang Zhua's eyes, she knew that he was understanding. In the past, he didn't know how to cherish. It seemed that all lovers in the world were like this. After being separated once, they would calmly think about what had caused the misunderstanding between the two of them. Although Shui Yaoyao had been busy this time and forgot about the date. But after this time, the barrier between the two of them seemed to have disappeared. To Li Tao, Yaoyao was getting prettier. Shui Yaoyao smiled faintly. Let him treat everyone to a meal today. Him. Li Tao's eyes widened. The person in your heart? Honestly, you guys are together now, right? Yaoyao, your expression changed when you mentioned him. Shui Yaoyao didn't deny it. I wanted to tell you guys, but I thought it would be better to be formal. The test is over and we can have a meal together. No problem. We have to eat. They had to see who had defeated their senior, the school hunk, to become the white moonlight in Yaoyao's heart. Shui Yaoyao felt that she had to tell Jiang Zhua first. She made a call. Jiang Zhua paused, his lips curving up uncontrollably. Is that why you're turning me into a permanent member? Shui Yaoyao was thin-skinned, her cheeks flushing. Are you free for dinner? I'll arrange it. You don't have to explain anything. I'll explain later. Jiang Zhua chuckled. Everyone in your dorm can eat. Let's go somewhere with a good environment and big portions. Shui Yaoyao was glad that she wasn't on speaker. What did he mean by everyone in her dorm could eat? But Li Tao, who was closest to them, heard it and asked in confusion, "How does your boyfriend know that we can eat?" Because he was the one who ordered afternoon tea every day. Shui Yaoyao didn't say this. Instead, she said helplessly, "Don't you know how to refute? I really can eat." Li Tao frowned. Why do I feel that the voice over there sounds familiar? Shui Yaoyao knew she wasn't good with words, so she didn't say much. You'll know when we're eating. Jiang's chose a private restaurant. Such a small restaurant didn't look expensive, but in fact, it was quite sophisticated. However, eating at such a place wouldn't make people feel like they were flaunting their wealth. Those who have sharp eyes will know that Yao Yao's boyfriend is taking care of these students. Li Tao nudged Shui Yaoyao. Your boyfriend isn't bad, but for him to eat at such a place, he can't be much older than you, right? Yao Yao laughed. What are you thinking about? Chapter 1694. Shui Yaoyao was about to speak. The waiter said, "We're here." It was a private room by the window. Jiang Zhua was already seated there. When he saw them, he stood up and took the bag from Yao Yao's hands, his smile still filled with love. Is there a traffic jam at this hour? It's all right. Shui Yaoyao was already used to such actions. The few people beside them seemed to have lost their souls when they saw this scene. What was going on? Even when they sat down, they felt like they were in a dream. Where was Yao Yao's boyfriend? Where was he? No. It couldn't be a teaching assistant, right? Jiang Zhua poured tea for them and after a smile, he told them everything that had happened between him and Shui Yaoyao. Li Tao's first reaction was, "Then why did you come to see university?" For her. Just these 3 words were enough to move the hearts of others. If the first half was said to be in a daze, then in the second half. Since they were teaching assistants and they had known each other for such a long time, it didn't matter if they ate a little more. Finally, Jiang Zhua felt that he could hold his head high and be the first in Yao Yao's heart. The waiter from the small restaurant walked over. Because he was dressed in ancient attire, he looked like a waiter. But the waiter held a small tablet in his hand, only the size of a palm. One look and it was obvious it wasn't sold in the market. May I know who is Miss Shui Yaoyao? Shui Yaoyao placed her chopsticks down and glanced up. It's me. A customer left this here. He said that you had arranged to have a meal here and he would give it to you when you showed up. Jiang Zhua's eyes flashed. He even knew where they were having their meal. Could he be a scammer? Li Tao's worry wasn't without reason. Shui Yaoyao wouldn't believe everything until she took the tablet and saw the logo. Her eyes seemed to tremble. This was the Supreme Alliance's team logo. Shui Yaoyao's fingers moved slightly, opening the page. A line of words entered her eyes. It was this line of words that made Shui Yaoyao cover her mouth with her hand. Her eyes even reddened. But very quickly, she suppressed the emotions. When he raised his head again, his eyes seemed to be able to burn something. Jiang Zhua didn't need to look to know who sent it. Spade Z. However, there were some deviations in the contents. When he saw the tablet page, he was also stunned. Li Tao and the others didn't know what was written on it. They only felt that Yao Yao was exuding an indescribable happiness from inside out. At this time, in Waterfront City not far from Sea University. After the 3 gods of Xiangnan retired, they recruited a lot of new people. One of them took a very interesting path. Some students were very excited. Even when they were eating, they kept saying, "I feel that she is really like my Almighty Z. She is so handsome." Almighty T is Almighty T. Don't say that every handsome guy is like Spade Z. Even though I like Spade Z, I can't stand it. Ever since Supreme Alliance disbanded, Spade fans probably wouldn't come out anymore. Just because I dyed my hair silver, called Spade T, and was hailed as the light of the future, I have to be messed with? Anyway, I like them both. Me too, Spade fans should stop. It's so annoying to fantasize everywhere. Chapter 1695. It's just the same name. Are you going to cause a ruckus? The chef arched a brow. The ruckus is a Spade fan? If they aren't Spade fans, then who are they? The person who was called Uncle trembled. He was indignant. I'm so handsome and you call me uncle? You are the uncle. All right. He took a deep breath. Come, let's analyze it. This Spade T, right? It isn't a big deal to have the same name. It's normal to bump into each other. Let me explain. Under normal circumstances, we should resolve the matter. After all, Supreme Alliance has been disbanded and Spade Z hasn't appeared for 3 months. Why do we have to bring up Spade fans? As far as I know, a lot of Spade Z's fans have quietened down following Spade Z's retirement. Alright, your almighty T is very popular. So popular that you can gather this group of people. Then let me ask you, do you have to disguise as a man to compete nowadays? Do you have to use the same name? All of these are fine. It isn't a problem since there are businesses involved and no one can say anything, right? The latter part was hilarious. Your almighty T, the light of the future, hasn't even heard of Spade Z? MH, such a beautiful move. I'm impressed. What do you mean? The few girls glanced at each other. Is there something wrong with this uncle? The fat chef pointed at himself. Something wrong with me? Something wrong with me? Anyway, we Spade fans know that we are in the wrong this time. I like tea too, they all have their own specialties, alright? If uncle doesn't understand, then don't say it. He didn't understand? What didn't the world most handsome understand? He was from Xiangnan too. Ever since the moment he came out, both he and his captain understood. Xiangnan was no longer the Xiangnan of the past. And love. This word was so cheap. Most importantly, he had never been a real Spade fan, yet he had to take the blame for someone who took the blame. He knew what it was like to have such love. It was easy to cater to it. He had never said that he would never forget Little Spade, the days when Xiangnan and Supreme Alliance battled. But he understood one thing. That person. That group of people. No one could replace them. He wouldn't go anywhere to look for their shadows. They were vividly etched in his memory, even though he was used to holding a mouse in his hand. Now he was holding a kitchen knife. He shook his head. In fact, there was nothing much to say. After all, he was about to become an uncle. There was an indescribable pain in his heart. When Luo left, he knew that Xiangnan's golden triangle was gone. When Supreme Alliance disbanded, he understood that some things would gradually be replaced. There was only a trace of hot blood in him. After all, they had a past. Now, Zhao Sanpang didn't know if he would still retain that passion. Perhaps it had been too long since he had been on the battlefield. It had only been 3 months. In the shop, the inconspicuous fat figure lowered his eyes and looked at his own hands. No one would understand. Why was it trembling slightly? Those girls who said, I like Xiangnan so much, I like tea so much, would never understand. He hadn't been acknowledged from the start. To be the champion for 3 years in a row. Then, the Golden Triangle disbanded. Our dreams have been broken again and again. Then they would stick back again and again. But this time, Zhao Sanpang didn't seem to know how to stick back. Or maybe he was really too naive. What was he thinking about? His hot blood couldn't cool down. Chapter 1696. The most handsome man in the world? These words made Zhao Sanpang, who was about to walk into the kitchen, stiffen. Something seemed to be faintly heating up in his frozen chest. Zhao Sanpang clenched his fists tightly and turned back. A faint light shone in. In that instant, fireworks rose. It seemed as though the sky full of light could be reflected in that person's black eyes. That person still looked like a youngster. He was dressed in a deliveryman's uniform, his figure tall and slender. He wore a cap on his head, faintly revealing the silver inside. The youngster wore a black earring on her ear, giving off a faint glow. The brim of the cap covered the sharp side of his face. Only the shocking curve of his chin could be seen. That person's thin lips curved into a devilish smile. His feet seemed to be able to crush the galaxy. When he looked at him, there was a hint of teasing in his lazy manner. F***CK. F***CK. That was Zhao Sanpang's first reaction. He was so agitated that he removed his mask, forgetting that there was someone beside him. Little Spade. Why are you here? Why are you back? Little Spade? When the girls who were eating over there heard this, they all looked over. The delivery man raised his hand and took off his cap. His silver hair fell, shattering like light. The youngster pushed her silver hair to the back of her head, revealing a perfect face that was like a devil's. Her eyes were extremely beautiful. Just like before, it was full of disguise. I wanted to deliver a package in silence, but since you're so handsome, I couldn't help but show myself. Bojo smiled slightly. She stuffed her left hand into her trouser pocket and held a small wooden box in her right hand. She looked just like a devil in a manga. The girls were in a daze. Everything seemed to have been slowed down. Spade Z. Was it really Spade Z? Bojo didn't look at them. She walked slowly towards Xiao Sanpang and arched a brow. Almighty fatty, aren't you going to see what I sent? Wait a minute. Xiao Sanpang glanced behind her. It definitely isn't just you. Where's my nemesis, scheming Qin and shameless Qin? Where is he? Bojo seemed to be having a headache. Recently, he has been giving me the cold shoulder. A single person like you wouldn't be troubled like me. Xiao Sanpang. I'm asking you where he is, not asking you to prick my heart. I really want to throw him out now. But I didn't come alone. Bojo turned sideways. A person carrying a small school bag walked in with a pile of food in her hands. These were all bought by her master along the way. This made the little girl want to sigh. But because that face was so beautiful, there was no emotion at all. Therefore, it only made people feel that the contrast was cute. Little Poker Face is here too. Xiao Sanpang went up and wanted to pat Little Bei's head. One must know that he really liked Little Bei. Bojo blocked him. Almighty fatty, this is my disciple. You can touch his head, but 100 per touch. The corner of Xiao Sanpang's mouth twitched when he heard that. Scourges would live for 1,000 years indeed. It was the same for money grubbers. Let's be serious. Why did you come back? Could it be? Xiao Sanpang glanced at the girls whose souls were clearly gone. Because of these? Bojo followed his gaze. Suddenly, she smiled. That smile was truly bewitching. Chapter 1697. Xiao Sanpang didn't understand. He arched a brow. Because of me? Did you fall for my beauty? I know I'm handsome, but I don't have any thoughts of snatching you away from scheming Qin. Bojo smirked. Almighty fatty, don't worry. I can't admire someone as handsome as you. Then why? Do you want to learn culinary skills? Xiao Sanpang's talkative nature was triggered. You came to the right place. Let me tell you, the tomato scrambled eggs I make now is very delicious. Bojo replied slowly. Those who have a partner don't need to learn how to cook. Besides, I have a disciple. Xiao Sanpang. He couldn't continue the conversation. You should take a look at the delivery. Bojo smiled. You'll understand. Delivery? Xiao Sanpang's gaze landed on the small wooden box in her right hand. He still felt that something was amiss when scheming Qin didn't come. What exactly was inside the small wooden box? Xiao Sanpang reached out to open it. There was something that looked like a tablet inside. It was thinner and smaller than a common iPad. He glanced up at Bojo. Did you make this? The youngster replied lazily. The main point is the content inside. What? Xiao Sanpang paused. His eyes slowly widened. There seemed to be huge waves in his eyes. The fluctuation was so obvious that his pupils were shaking. When did this happen? 3 days ago. Bojo sat there with one hand supporting the side of her face. Her messy silver hair fell down. She looked like an oriental vampire. How is it? Do you want to come back? Xiao Sanpang suppressed the raging air in his chest. His voice was hoarse. Why do you want to come back? We have already retreated. You know how they treated Luoluo and why the 3 of us retired. Now that you heard these people, why do you want to come back? If you ask me, my answer is simple. Bojo stood up. She tilted her handsome face casually. Come back. Let's shake up the esports competition again. Let's tell some people that daddy is still his daddy. Xiao Sanpang paused. When he looked up again, there was a storm brewing in his eyes. The girls sitting at the side were really confused. Bojo walked over, a faint smile on her face. Actually, I don't care what you say, but why are you taking the blame for my fans? Someone said he likes Xiangnan, right? The person standing in front of you is Zhao Sanpang, Xiangnan. Oh no, the best tank in the entire server. He was the champion for 3 consecutive years even though Supreme Alliance defeated him in the end. Zhao Sanpang thought. If you didn't add that last sentence, I would have thought that you were complimenting me. But he's still number 1 in the entire server. Bo Jiu leaned forward slowly, inching closer to one of the girl's ears. The people who supported us till now were never like you. With that, Bo Jiu glanced up towards Zhao Sanpang. Almighty Fatty, are you going to reject coming back because of these people? I have always liked Luo Luo because she knew what the world was like. She still had the sorcerer's support and stood in the middle of the map. With her around, we had to consider how to break through Xiangnan. If we weren't careful, we might be controlled. She didn't retire because of these people. Bo Jiu stood up slowly. She stood against the light. She felt that her hand speed was too slow and wouldn't be able to keep up with Xiangnan. She wanted you to win. Chapter 1698. In that instant, the haze that had been in his heart for a long time dissipated. From the day Luo Luo retired, Zhao Sanpang felt a sense of helplessness. The top sorcerer of the national server had to retire in such a manner. Other than themselves, no one could understand the meaning of the golden triangle. To the audience, as long as the script was the same, they would like it. Hence, it didn't matter who left. But to him, it was Luo Luo. Just Luo Luo. In the future, no matter how many people came out, they wouldn't be from the golden triangle. Zhao Sanpang removed his apron, his gaze deep. Let me ask you a question. Why didn't you get rid of those people? It shouldn't be difficult for you. Bo Jiu glanced over, her eyes bright. If I dug a pit for you to jump, would you jump? Zhao Sanpang bit his teeth. Speak clearly. I say, don't you take other people's love too seriously? Bo Jiu's handsome face carried a faint smile. Some people like you today, but they will like someone else tomorrow. You aren't clear about it yourself. You and Almighty Xiao retired together because you can't keep up with the current situation. There are people more suitable than both of you. They know how to take every step, that's why such a situation occurred. Am I really going to jump in and help them? Grandpa Fatty, some people like you because they like you in the process of pursuing them. That's why they say that you can't be replaced while looking for similar people to like you. This is very normal. If you use these things to restrict yourself, how are you going to move your mouse? Zhao Sanpang's gaze dimmed. So, what can we do with some people? Sir Fatty. Bo Jiu's gaze deepened. Have you watched Animal World? Zhao Sanpang asked. That movie. Bo Jiu smiled mischievously. Manga, we haven't finished fighting the war we should be fighting. We might lose one day, but we have protected our principles. It's not that we can't do anything to some people, but we don't want to become like them. Zhao Sanpang trembled. He glanced up. I'm back. All right. Bo Jiu stretched. I finally completed my mission. It was a job to train my eloquence. Zhao Sanpang asked, do you need to train your eloquence? Why are you the one looking for me? Where's Scheming Qin? This should be his responsibility. Isn't it the same if I do it and he does it? Bo Jiu replied lazily. He's mine anyway. Zhao Sanpang chuckled. So what about him? Bo Jiu tapped the tablet in his palm. Of course it's with someone else. Afternoon, Rivertown. Kacha kacha. The rhythmic sound of the keyboard echoed in the air. It was the same in any internet cafe. There was a faint smell of smoke. There was also the smell of instant noodles. From time to time, he would shout, Dragon, dragon, dragon. They're fighting dragons. The network administrators who passed by were all shocked. Playing around again? I really have to be more wretched. Manager, here's a bottle of Coke for free. Wait a minute. The manager was a newcomer. He had only been working for half a month, but he felt that his boss was the boss. He didn't look like the boss of an internet cafe. Sitting at the bar, his smiling eyes, but in the next second, let you feel a different sense of oppression. Boss. Boss isn't back yet. Call me acting boss. The manager coughed. Acting boss. There seems to be a lot of people playing hero online recently. Why is that? Why? Rao Rong's fingers stilled. Chapter 1699. Rao Rong was about to speak. Just then, there was the sound of the door opening. The manager turned to look. A person walked in. The man was wearing a dark trench coat with a pure white shirt inside, giving off a cold and noble vibe. His face was handsome, and half of it was covered by a pure black mask. Her cold and fair complexion and curves were like the finest porcelain jade. He seemed to have walked out of a manga, his legs long and slender, his body tall and straight, his eyes filled with a faint indifference. Even though the surroundings were noisy, he didn't seem to be affected at all. The manager was still thinking about how he looked like a young master from an aristocratic family. Why would he appear in an internet cafe? Just then, he saw the man walk over slowly. The manager didn't know why, but he felt an indescribable pressure. He seemed too much like the final boss in a game. Sir. Before he could finish his sentence, his boss smiled. Then they heard their boss's slow voice carry a hint of a smile. Why are you back? They knew each other? The manager thought to himself that his boss didn't seem like an internet cafe owner. The people he knew weren't ordinary either. The man removed his mask, the coolness intensifying. Who else could it be? Are you going to chat here? On the big screen in the internet cafe was the 3000 knife cutting that he had used in the Asian Cup, as well as his side profile. The manager looked at the screen and then at him, his eyes widening. He! Almighty! Manager, my Coke! Someone stood up. However, the network administrator felt like he was dreaming. The hand holding the iced Coke didn't seem like his own, knocking against the table leg twice. When he came back, there was no one at the bar counter. Even their boss was gone. What was going on? He really saw Almighty Qin just now. He lowered his head and started to post on WeChat. I had a dream. I saw Almighty Qin in an internet cafe. F***CK. He's so handsome in real life. Very quickly someone replied. Bro, you were dreaming, that's impossible. Actually, it wasn't impossible, but the specific information about this internet cafe was only known to the fans of Supreme Alliance. After that, they said the manager had changed and no one had specially looked for it. But they weren't sure. It was Rao Rong. He was one of the 3 captains back then, the best team controller in the country. At the same time, Xiao family. Everyone was beaming with joy. Young master. Wait with young madam. Madam and the rest are upstairs. They will come down after some preparation. Okay. Xiao Jing sat down with them. Luoluo's face heated up. Young madam. It had been 3 months. When Luoluo knew she was going to meet her captain's parents, she felt a little nervous. After all, her family values were really related to knowledge. Whenever she was nervous, she would say to Xiao Jing, "It's all my fault for not studying hard before." Xiao Jing glanced at her, pulled her over, and lowered his head to kiss her. They're already very happy that I'm not gay. Xiao Jing was probably the only person who would use this excuse to comfort his wife. Luoluo smiled beautifully. Does uncle and auntie suspect that you're gay? Chapter 1700. Qin Jing couple? Luoluo couldn't help but laugh. Both of you are very popular. I almost became a fan of both of you. Uncle and auntie have a different way of educating people. It's probably because all your attention was on Qin Mo at that time. Xiao Jing glanced sideways. I'm just studying my opponent. Is it that funny? A little. Luoluo always said whatever was on her mind in front of him. Her eyes were bright and her teeth were white. What else did uncle and auntie do because of this? Xiao Jing's hand didn't leave Luoluo's hair. He continued to tangle with it. You asked me indirectly how big of a place Qin Mo occupies in my heart. When Luoluo heard this, she laughed so hard that her shoulders trembled. He does look a little gay. He should record it and send it to Joe. Xiao Jing looked at the person beside him. When he got closer, he said in a low voice, "Let's test it tonight." Test? Luoluo didn't understand. Her smile was filled with confusion. Xiao Jing's lips fell on her hair. Let's test whether I'm straight on you. In an instant, Luoluo felt as though she was scalded. His heart trembled slightly. His face was slightly hot. Xiao Jing looked at her blushing face and smiled. It should be fine after meeting your parents. Why was he asking her such a question? Luoluo wanted to get up. However, he grabbed her wrist. What are you going to do? Drink some water. Luoluo's eyes moved away slightly. She didn't look at that face. This was simply against the rules. He clearly knew that she had no resistance against him. Xiao Jing chuckled. Here's my teacup. Luoluo took it. She wanted to divert her thoughts by drinking tea. Xiao Jing narrowed his eyes. I don't want to ask anymore. What else did my parents say? What else did he say? As long as it wasn't a topic of conversation, everything would be fine. Xiao Jing's voice was indifferent. Although Qin Mo is handsome, he already has a girlfriend. Let me be mentally prepared. Luoluo wanted to laugh again. At this moment, a voice came from the other side. Xiao Jing, what nonsense are you saying to Luoluo? It was Mother Xiao. Knowing that her son was going to bring his girlfriend, she was overjoyed. The Xiao family was indeed engaged in scientific research. Other than medical research, there were also some things that could be used by the military. They were all in the courtyard. This time, his son returned to the main family. They were worried that he had come back because of Qin Feng. One had to know that the last time her son came back, he said that he was investigating something for Qin Brat. Luoluo's appearance was like a savior. From the moment Xiao Taiying's mother sat down, she started to say that her son was boring, and that he didn't know what romance was. He asked Luoluo to be more tolerant and even said that they were teammates. Then I would be at ease. He liked to play games. He said a lot. Luoluo knew very well that this situation happened because of a certain someone's previous topic. Mrs. Xiao had thought about letting her son marry someone from the system in the future. The professors had told her that the girls who did experiments with Xiao Jing were all very good. He was just shocked by his son's reaction. Every time he said, "Not interested," no one was interested in telling him. Apart from that brat from the Qin clan, who could make him say a few more words. Nothing else would work. Mrs. Xiao was really worried. Now she looked at Luoluo's face. No wonder he didn't like the girls I introduced to him. Chapter 1701. Madam, it's a delivery. Delivery? Madam Xiao furrowed her brows. She had never called for a delivery and never bought anything online. Why would there be a delivery? Did you send it to the wrong place? Madam Xiao stood up. The delivery man said from the door, Mr. Qin asked me to send it here. I am from a company that runs errands. He has something for Mr. Xiao Jing. Qin? Madam Xiao looked towards her son. Why did Qin appear again? Was Luoluo his son too? Xiao Jing knew what his mother was thinking. Luoluo and I aren't fake. I won't use her as a shield. In the future, don't read too many stories. After Madame Zhao's thoughts were exposed, she coughed softly. Child, when did I ever think that way? Luoluo couldn't help but laugh. You and Qin Mo are too close. Auntie can't be blamed for thinking too much. Right. Madame Xiao finally found someone to speak up for her. Xiao Jing glanced down. When did I say that you and Z are even closer? Luoluo. Xiao Jing stood up and walked to the door. He took the item from the delivery man's hands. He opened the first layer of packaging. There was another layer of packaging. He touched it through the bag. Xiao Jing didn't know what was inside. So, he set his eyes on the tablet-like thing first. What is it? Luoluo walked over. Xiao Jing let her look at the tablet in his palm. His slender fingers swiped across the screen and he clicked on it. Luoluo's gaze was clearly shocked. She tilted her face and instinctively wanted to capture Xiao Jing's expression. The emotions in her heart seemed to be tumbling out. However, Xiao Jing pressed the pause button. His deep eyes fell on her face. Luoluo urged him. Why don't you finish reading? Xiao Jing's voice was calm. I have retired. There's nothing to see. Luoluo was still looking at him. She smiled. You are worried that I will feel sad if I am not on the list. That's why you stopped reading. Xiao Jing's hand, which was about to put the tablet back, paused. His gaze deepened. It's meaningless if we're not together. Luo Luo looked at him with flames in her eyes. How is it meaningless? Even if I don't participate as a member of the team, I can still be your fan. At the very least, I can apply for an assistant position. After all, I have a gaming foundation. I understand. Xiao Jing reached out and pulled her over, holding her in his arms. Okay, I'll go back. Luo Luo smiled. Her smile was like a raging fire. Her eyebrows and eyes were like a painting. It was just like when she first appeared in front of everyone. Some people also said that she looked the most like the characters in the game. When she wielded a magic staff or carried a sniper cannon in the game, there was no one who wouldn't be intimidated by her powerful aura. Applying for an assistant position? Xiao Jing lowered his eyes. You will definitely be on the list. Before Luo Luo could speak, Xiao Jing didn't touch the tablet again. Instead, he followed the instructions given by the higher-ups. He picked up the package next to him. He reached out and tore it. The thing slid down from the inside. This is a battle uniform? Luo Luo picked it up. Xiao Jing's eyes lit up. That's right, it's a battle uniform. Moreover, there are 2 sets. 2 sets which meant... Luo Luo looked up. Xiao Jing lifted up his black and red uniform, and 2 huge words appeared in front of him. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.